My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jobs, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back to the show. Today with me is Jennifer Bell. And Jennifer Bell, her heart is for healers, practitioners, everybody that is doing their soul work and trying to save the world. Jennifer's concern is that in doing that, you've lost yourself and you're doing the work at the detriment of you've neglected yourself, you've neglected your needs, you've burnt out, you're exhausted. And as much as this is the work you're being called to do, and you're using every bone marrow you have left for this soul work, you don't have to kill yourself in the process. At least whoever you believe in, God or whatever it is, does not want that for you. And so how can we bring balance to soul work and not feel like we have to sacrifice our soul in the process? I think it's very, very good because everybody I bring on talks to, do you want to heal? Are you on the journey? I'm a healer, blah, blah, blah. What about the healers? Like, who's taking care of them? Who's making sure they're taking care of themselves? And so I like this work because now we're helping the teacher. Now we're helping the messenger. Now we're helping the person who is bringing all of their gifts. And we're saying, hey, but what about you? How are making sure that, you're taking care of yourself? And so I love this topic. Mm-hmm. And organically, we'll take it and see where it lands for us with the one and only Jennifer Bell. Jennifer, welcome to the show. I am honored that it's 4 a.m. your time and you're taking the time to do this. Like, it's really an honor.
Oh, well, it's an honor for me to be here with you, Prima. I really appreciate your work and I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
For sure. When I was rambling around what you do with so many words, what came to mind? Like, Prima, if you could only say this thing, people would get it. Like, what do you do that I was trying to say in 1,000 words?
Well, there's a lot of people in the spiritual marketplace that talk about soul, but they don't really have a way to make a tangible connection with soul through the body. So part of my work is people are sacrificing their soul because they're not actually even connecting to it through the body. There are ways to, there's a, specific channel, the central channel, that is the foundation of my work. It is also one of the meridians in Chinese medicine. And it gives us it helps us to have a stable core as a practitioner, especially if you're highly empathic and highly compassionate and highly sensitive. Like, so most of my clients have a sensitivity to energy, but they don't know how to process it. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to relate to it.
Let me see if I understand. So I'm a healer, I'm a practitioner, I am a channel, I am all those things that Prima doesn't know much. And I use all of my energy, all of my whatever I have left to help other people. And what you're saying is, what is the problem that I'm having for me to go, oh my God, this is my expert, I have that problem. Like, I am not one of those people, so I don't have the experience, but like, what is the experience they're having that gets your work to be relevant for them?
They get burnt out quickly and they feel tired. And then what happens is it drives them to like, oh, I need a new course. I need to learn a new thing. They are in a state of disempowerment and diminishment and a little bit of low self-esteem. And they do not have the stability in their energy. So a lot of it is they have a lot of outer focus. They're driven out here instead of developing a very stable inner core with their soul. So that when you have that, then you feel less like you're giving so much and sacrificing so much. I mean, so if they're, especially, so for me, it's not, people don't heal other people. People facilitate the space for other people to heal. And that's one even a mindset shift that healers, like, the word healer is kind of loaded a little bit. You're just facilitating. You might be doing, different things, but it's a facilitation. The person heals themselves.
Interesting. That's a good shift, because I've heard people say, I'm a healer. And I'm like, okay, there's people saying that healers, and then there's people saying you heal yourself. And I'm like,
No.
okay, so where is the line here? So now you really make sense, because it's really like the other person has to receive and do stuff before they can heal.
Yes.
Whoever you're channeling, doesn't matter if the person is not open and
Oh,
cooperating and doing the work.
I,
Yeah.
I don't channel. I channel my own soul. That's it. I don't channel outside sources. And, for me, it's like channel, that's it. It's soul and God. We don't need all these other distractions. I feel like they're just distractions. They're spirits longing to be fed, and we don't need it. Because why do we need more than God?
That's interesting. And I know this is
Right?
not this is not your focus, but I think
Oh, yeah.
I want to sit here, because there may be someone listening going, okay, that's interesting. Like, take her there. Like, what does she mean?
Yeah.
And so for you who's listening, I'm going to take her a little bit down a path of, I am confused. I need to understand more.
Yeah,
So like
sure.
you're saying all these other sources don't matter. It's just God. And I'm thinking, okay, there's people who channel this person and this person and this person and this person. And then there is God and the church. So I wonder, like, where is your center? Because I'm a person of faith. I was raised to go to church. I know God and Jesus and Mother Mary, and that's who I know because I'm in church. So when I meet people channeling all these different people, I'm like, wow, this is new. Okay, like, okay. But I'm like, but like, how many people do we need? Or who is who? And I'm thinking you're at a point where you can answer this question for me, because for me, I was like, okay, like, so who is who? Like, these people healing through
Yeah.
different. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I am confused. I don't know who is who. And me, as someone who believes in God, how far can I go in extending what I know and what I don't know? So give me kind of your 2 cents around what you have found and why you're like, no, I channel my spill, that's all, the rest is distraction. Because I thought that was really interesting.
Um, so I did all that stuff. Like I explored all that. I started as a hands-on healer, and I've been doing this since 1998. So I have much more experience, okay, than most people in the marketplace. So I like I call it being on the front line. Like you're sitting with someone, you have your hands on them, doing body work or doing acupuncture, right? And you're in their energy field because I'm inches away from them, and they're releasing trauma, right? So I just want to give you that perspective before I go into this. And then I went through and I said, well, this is what everyone else is doing. So maybe I'm supposed to do that, right? This is what this is what everyone else is doing. This is what's in the spiritual marketplace. And I went down that road. And every time I would encounter a spiritual being outside of myself, at some point I'd hit a wall. At some point, and it was like, oh, let's go to the next level or the next thing or the next being, all to come back to that we have God within ourselves. There's God, there's God, and we have the God matrix, we could say, within ourselves. And to be centered, right? What I would call within the divine plane of consciousness, within your own energy, within your own mind, within your emotions, within your relationship to spirit. It makes you more potent and more magnetic as a healing facilitator. So I look at those beings that other people channel, they're just libraries of light. They're just a frequency. They just are a mirror. So like a lot of people channel Archangel Michael. Well, Archangel Michael is about confidence. It's about, you can do it. It's always going to reflect to you, kind of like, he's like a warrior, right? So he's the mirror. He's only supposed to help you remember that. You're not supposed to give your power away or say, oh, like, well, I channel Archangel Michael, and I see these people, when they say it, they're in a state of disempowerment because they're channeling the next shiny thing. And
That's interesting. And
we just need God.
we could get some hit back from healers and stuff. So make sure we put our
I
ones there.
that's why I'm I'm not popular with, because I'm asking them to like let all that go. Let all that go and consolidate, get into your own power, which comes from God.
So that's
Which is in
interesting.
us. Yeah.
That's interesting because me, who is not a channel, is not a healer, I'm like, okay, I've grown up with God. I understand there's God, it's Jesus, Mother Mary, but ultimately, I think there's God. There's a Holy Spirit that's in me, and church confirms that for me. And so I'm going to be finding ways to get closer and closer and closer to the God that is inbuilt within
And
me. But then when I
yes.
look in the marketplace, I see so many people channeling different names. And what you're saying is it comes back the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ultimately it's that's, so to me it's like I can, I said this is like actually we don't need all this. And the truth is, what happened is when I would encounter a spiritual being, the first thing they would say to me, like the first thing I would get is, don't give your power away to me ever. Now, because of that, because of the way that relationship, I never did. But I did see it was like a level of distraction, and it was a level of, oh, I need to learn to do this now. And it's like this unending, maddening search for the next higher being that you can channel, when that really is all that's coming from is a wound, a traumatic wound that needs to be healed. And it's based on not feeling enough. It's either feeling like, you're trying to find where you belong, or you're trying to find kind of like your home. There's a not enough thing that's happening, not enoughness wound.
Let me see if I understand. So we're in the 3D and we're saying I'm not enough, I feel unworthy, wherever. And so I am getting on my spiritual journey. You go on the spiritual journey, you heal, or you peel off a few onions and you go, oh, this is interesting. Now I want to be a healer. Now I want to help people. And meanwhile, you're still peeling your own onion. And so you go in there with still maybe some of that not enoughness. And now you realize there are these spiritual beings that you can channel. And now that becomes an identity, a belonging, something to show you that you're now enough or whatever. And now that being brings the need to another, to another, to another, and you keep going. But really, this is interesting. Really, if you're not careful, you realize that you're doing the same thing in the spiritual world which you did in the 3D world.
Exactly.
Only now you're not chasing the job, you're not chasing the cars. Now you're chasing this. Okay, is that what you're saying? Or?
Well, it's called spiritual materialism.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a very different way of viewing things, and that's why it's like normalizing spirituality, or like what I call blue collar spirituality, because it's about the indwelling spirit inside of us, the indwelling, what's inside. And most people don't go in. I can't tell you how many of my clients who are, were healing facilitators that never meditated. And I was like, well, you need to we need to work on this part. And just the practice of meditation, how it helps them.
So you do have a lot of work, a wide range of work. At this point, I would like to ask you what would be most valuable to our conversation today. But I am certainly very interested in normalizing spirituality and busting some myths and getting the people that are just getting started on this journey to see it for what it is. Because the last thing I need is to be leading people a path that is not going to help them, because I'm also not very deep in the world. And so what I feel I would love to learn more about is like, what do people get wrong about spirituality? What have you experienced in the 14 or 13 years of being in there? But if you feel like there's a different conversation which can help us, we can go there as well. Because there's people on this journey, they're trying to become a healer and all of that. but then maybe they have bought into something that is not, maybe they don't know what they don't know as well. And no one has ever given them the this or that. Really, spirituality in simple terms is this. And if you're going to be healing people and going up that route, this is really what it is about. And you may as well find your version of it. I really love that conversation, but I don't know what from your bank you think would be more helpful for people than really just debunking myths and normalizing spirituality.
Well, let me make it like, so maybe, it's like we can think about it in a very practical way. Like I look at it this way. Maybe you start to move away from Western medicine mindset, right? And then you look to herbs. Well, how many anti-inflammatory herbs are there? Countless, right? So that's a lot of information. So when and this is what I tell, like all kinds of healing practitioners, so herbalists, like whatever they are, like acupuncturists, even if they're energy healers, you work crystal healers, right? Let's say you don't need a huge repertoire. You don't have to learn everything. You have to have a really good relationship with a few things. So a few herbs, right? So you start with a small library, and that might be all you need. A few flower essences, a few essential oils, like depending on what kind of practitioner you want to be. What or whatever practitioner you are. So you streamline it down, and what you streamline it to becomes a very potent. And you make the relationship with the tool, with the herb, you have to have a very good, and clear relationship with that thing. So one of the things I've done is even done this with words with my clients. Let's have a different relationship with the word gratitude that you're using as a healing tool, because your relationship with it isn't as potent as it could be. You haven't found yourself through the God in gratitude, like the God, not the God, the God. Like, so if God is in gratitude, you've got to find yourself in God through that word, where a lot of people have different layers of meanings in between them and that word, where it should just be that's it. Let's distill it down. Let's make it pure. So that's why I make these things very practical, because we have everyday things that we're dealing with, and people discount them as not spiritual enough because it's not special somehow. It's not mystical somehow. Well, mystical can be every day. And that people are on it, that people who are on a healing journey, one of the things that's important is I have to help them have a different relationship with their body. And even healers, because that both of them, people on a healing journey healers are my clients, and they need a different relationship with their body. They need a more purified relationship, or alchemized, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Where they find makes sense.
Let me take you somewhere, and then you can kind of bring me back with something. Whenever I listen to people who are doing healing work or spiritual work, whatever, all I pick is, personally, what I understand is we're initially whole and complete. And then things happen that subtract some of that. Maybe trauma happens, maybe, I don't know, suffering, problems, all of that. And so your body, I don't know, gives you certain things like anger, like frustration, like fear, like anxiety, to tell you that I seem to be drifting off my whole state, and I want you to take me back. I know that I can experience joy, peace, intuition, confidence, grace, all of those things. I know that I've experienced them. I know that they belong to me. But right now, you're not giving me those things. So what are you allowing in your life that is taking away these things? So if somebody's always anxious, what I pick is your wholeness is telling you, why are you living in the future? I want you to live in the future. I want you to live in the present, because that is my state of wholeness. If somebody is depressed, what I pick off is that the whole soul is saying, I don't want you to live in the past. So I'm going to replace you so you stop living there. And so inherently, what I understand, and I'm not deep in these things, that we have access to these things. We have access to joy, to peace, to happiness, to grace, to confidence, to all of these things. But because we probably have trauma and all of those things, we seem to interfere with that state. And so everything is being done in an effort to restore that state.
Yes. Yeah. But I have more to that to add to that.
So give me more, educate me more, because I feel like I need to understand. For example, me who is new to this world of spirituality, I kind of need to understand, like, okay, what do I need and what don't I need? For somebody who wants to go ahead and activate their gifts and heal other people, what do they need versus what don't they need? What is noise versus what's the real deal?
Right. So I could go through the Chinese medicine understanding of emotions, but I'm not going to, because what I want to talk about is what I think is important. The body is signaling. Let's go this way. The body has a state of deficiency, let's say. It's deficient for whatever happening, whatever trauma happened, the body becomes deficient in one of the neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin. Maybe there's like a cascade of events happening. If your body is, could be thyroid stimulating hormone, any of those, anything. If your body is deficient in a mineral or a neurotransmitter or a hormone, it can create these emotional states. So it's not just the mental part that you might be dealing with. Now, being able to restore those things, like in my opinion, medication doesn't do that. It doesn't bring the body back into balance. So first we have to start with creating a different relationship with the body and the biological processes, and understanding the first thing is to wholly accept that your body knows how to heal, even if it doesn't look like it can. You have to have faith and trust in that. And then to understand that healing happens physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So what a lot of healers do is they only heal on one level. So like they'll do the energy healing or the spiritual healing, but then the person needs to do something physically to activate the healing. They need to live differently. You have to live differently. You have to put your body into, like, you have to put, like, between the body, the mind, the emotions, and the spirit, it's almost like putting in a little bit of shock. So it changes. So it changes again, like, but you're bringing in a shock that's going to induce healing. What happens is people go into some kind of shock or trauma, and it's like they go into a state where healing doesn't finish completely. Like, we're also afraid of fevers, but we need the fever. We need to complete the fever. The fever, unless it's very, very, very high, we actually need to let the fever go, because the fever is actually healing the body.
The body is talking to us when there's a fever.
Yeah, so fever, like the body is trying to process through something. It's burning through something. It's trying to burn. You understand? It's trying to burn.
Yes.
It's trying to process through.
Like fever, like headache, like stomach aches.
All those things.
That's the body talking and saying, I need to process something.
Right. And then so what we do, a lot of what we do is we grab, if you have a headache, people run for Advil, right? Or whatever, Tylenol, and they suppress the symptom, but they don't heal it. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't, because, a headache can be very debilitating, but, first thing to do is just to remember, while you have a headache, remember that you can heal, that your body can heal, and that you can even talk to your body and say, okay, I have this headache. What's happening?
I think I'm the living testimony of, I don't take medication. I don't take painkillers.
Yeah.
And so if I have a headache, I'm going to say, okay, why do I have a headache?
Right.
what does this mean lie
Right.
down? And I would try as much as possible not to take that painkiller unless I am like really ill. When I go to the hospital, then I'm
Mm.
really ill. But if I have a
Yeah.
headache, a discomfort, I'd be like, okay, what is the communication of it?
Right. And I'm not saying that medication like is, you should never take medication because there are instances where you really need those things. Like
Mm,
like that's I honor that, right? And
mm,
that I'd say it has its place, but I feel like it's widely overused. We probably only need it maybe 10% of the time over how it's being used right now.
mm,
So, headache can come from different things. It could come from something you ate that disturbed you. And that could be not just a physical food. It could be a mental food or an emotional food that
mm,
you're not able to digest. And the energy gets stuck in your head. So the energy is just up in your head. Like, so basically, if I were to work with energy, right, just energy alone,
mm,
without doing anything, and someone had a headache, I'd just have them use their hands and try to bring their energy down to their feet and then rub
mm,
their feet
mm,
and see if just the action of rubbing their feet started, if it can bring the energy, bring it back into normal flow, then
mm.
that's it. Then we stop there.
So what's the problem with the way we are doing these things? What is the
Mm.
problem with the way spirituality is being delivered, explained, and
It's,
what are we
yeah.
getting wrong? What are we missing? Where are we off? Especially those
It-
of us who are just on this journey and we don't know
yeah.
much. Mm,
It's disconnected. Like, so it's like in this strange kind of compartmentalized piece,
mm,
right? Spirit is an interesting word, right? And
mm,
in Latin, right? Breath, right? Inspira, expira. That's inhale and exhale. So I always find it
mm,
interesting. Like that actually came to me organically because I studied Spanish. I don't practice it enough and I don't speak it very well anymore. But
mm,
inspira, expira, in spirit, out spirit. So sometimes
mm,
it's a matter of just the breath. Like maybe we just need to change our breath, but realize that our spirit, our soul connects with the body in our first breath in life and leaves on the last breath.
mm,
So even if we think about breathing, we can think about that as our connection to God. So sometimes it's just a matter of breath, just a matter of breathing. Breathing is about spirituality. So changing your breath, being focused, paying, even just bringing awareness to your breath. We don't do that as a people very often.
mm,
So very simple, right? That's it. You want to change, you want to start tuning into your spirit, breathe, become aware of your breath. Because there are many spirits. There's the Holy Spirit, there's God. And I'm not religious. I quit religion at 5. So I have my relationship with God
mm.
because I created it, like because I believed in God, because that's it. To me, that's what it is. From understanding, just living life. That's how I've created my relationship with God.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
what you're saying is spirituality has been depart has been given department, or it has
yeah,
dep
yeah.
so
It's like,
take me there, like what is it that has been twisted and how can we bring it back so that
well,
we
that's
see for what it is? Because I feel like when you speak about it, it is simpler than I've ever heard of it.
well, it is. So part of it is that, I think, and I don't want, part of it is this could be touchy, but
Mm,
religion, sometimes the way that it is, it disconnects people because it's okay, oh, on Sunday or this day or Saturday or whatever day we go to church and we read the
mm,
Bible and that's the day we do it.
mm,
with no like real clear instructions like on how to live it. But you just live it by breathing and being, you know, being a kind person and knowing that you're, you know, what they would call in the Bible a child of God, right? And so that we're all really, you know, we're all connected. We all have a connection because we all have physical bodies. We all have a soul. Well, there's a debate if we all have souls. That's another topic. But that we're all just here. We have spirit. It's just in us, and it's so natural. But people try to make it so much that it's all outer. It's all out here. But no, it's inside. And so it's very complex because like I said, there's really just breathe, and you'll start to change.
What I'm picking is people have made spirit connection with your spirit more fancy than it has to be. Like they've gotten something very simple and they've made it so complex, and you have to have gifts and you have to have this. But really, you can be a person and you can just connect with your spirit by
right. Well, so yeah, I'm going to add a little something up because you're mentioning gifts, and I think this is a big confusion that people don't understand. Spiritual gifts are not spiritual senses. Spiritual senses, right? Excuse me, are metaphysical senses. So we see with our physical eyes and we see with our spiritual eye. We hear with our physical ears and we hear with our spiritual ear. We feel, we touch, we feel, right? And we have a like emotional sense. And then we have like a metaphysical sense of that, like an energy sense. We have, so these are just, we have they call it like clair cognizance, which is like clear thought. But we think, right? So then we have like, so those are just senses beyond the physical. These are senses that we use intuitively, instinctively. We can think about ancient people, like we are like sensory organs. We're like a whole, even our nervous system we talk about, it's a sensory and motor system. It's you sense and then you motor, you act based on what you sense. Simple. So those are just senses that are tuned in to what's not physical.
I'm very curious. Yes.
So spiritual gifts are how you operate in the world. Like, so my spiritual gift, right, is to normalize spirituality. Right? That's my spiritual gift. That's it. You see the difference? So people are getting carried away in developing these intuitive senses that are natural for us and that can be easily tuned into, because it is how we protected ourselves for millennia out in nature with wild animals. It's how tribal people function to this day.
So the senses are the normal senses, but another level of them. So how do we get to the next level of our senses? How do I get my sense of feeling and take it the other side of the metaphysical? How do I get my sense of hearing, smelling, feeling? And how do I activate that in the other side? Because I think this is what is carrying us away and going. I wonder if I'm using my sense of smell fully. I wonder if I'm using my sense of sight fully. I wonder if my hearing is all of it. And we're probably getting carried away into things that are nearer than us than we think. So take me there. Like, how do I activate the second layer of my senses?
Well, one, like part of the process is it's a purification process. So let's do the most popular one, which is Claire it's so funny. I can't think of the French word, but it's it's clear vision.
Mm.
And it's like it's like literally not the words not coming to me, which is wild. So um clairvoyance, that's it. Clear vision,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
we are inundated with images all
Mm.
day long. We're sitting in front of this screen, right? People watch screens all day. There's a lot of information stored in there.
Mm.
And what you have to do is be able to sit with your focus in that area of your body. So you would close
Mm.
your eyes and you would focus like a magnet into that center and just breathe and don't do anything. Don't try to see anything and just let whatever images come, like just let them go. Like don't try to hold on to them. Don't try to identify them so that you go through a state of purifying this area of your body. And you just don't try to hold on to what's there, because what happens is a lot of people just go right into like, well, I see this and I see that, and well, that's great, but we have to go through a level of purification. We need time to empty out
Mm.
what's there, what's stored in there, and to be in that just pure presence in that area.
Mm.
Over time it gets clearer and clearer.
Mm. And
And
then step 2 or 3 or 4.
no. So okay, so here let me backtrack. So I don't know, I've been in business for like 26 years, right? So when I
Mm.
started working on people, my intuition naturally opened up. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to try, because all I did was state an intention to be present when I started working with people. So that was a good yawn. So that something's releasing, right? So
Mm.
for you. So because of that, and because I worked with people, so whatever I sensed, I would ask them. Now, I didn't try to interpret what I was sensing. So one thing is like, for yourself, it's just about like, okay, so if you see an image that it's like it won't leave, right? So this image won't leave. Well, then you
Mm.
have to do some investigation, right?
Mm.
The next step would be, so an image won't leave. It doesn't mean that it's um like a sign, like, oh my God, it's a sign, right? A sign, I need to follow us, I need to do this. No, 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 wait, just
Mm.
wait a second. Again, we have to go through another layer. So the whole thing um would be to look behind what you're seeing, allow it to dissolve, and see what the pure essence is behind it, which means you go into the center. Centering vibration is what we call source vibration, which is God.
Mm.
So anytime you pierce the center, this is high level stuff, you understand? And plus there's an energy management. This is just a little piece, or a little
Mm.
amuse bouche, a little taste of
Mm.
what I do with people. So you go into the center and allow what you're seeing to dissolve and see what's behind it. You
Mm.
dissolve it until there's no more dissolving,
Mm.
because
Wow.
there are spirits that would like to have your attention, that pretend to be benevolent and they're really not. So the more that you do that and go through
Mm.
that process, the less that you are ripe for them. They start to know that you're a discerning being, and they can't trick
They
you as
can't
easily.
trick you. Mm.
And they
Wow.
can't, yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting. So you move from these normal earthly gifts to your metaphysical by literally
Mm-hmm.
purifying and clearing all of the noise out. So
Mm-hmm.
which makes it interesting, because I don't consume much. So usually in sessions like meditation,
Mm-hmm.
when they're saying see the light, and I'm like, I see nothing. Nothing.
You shouldn't, don't see anything, because what you want to do is let it, whatever to come, like over time, like you may see nothing for a while, and that's okay too. Honestly, I'd usually start with a lower energy center with this process, below the navel, because in Chinese medicine, that area is the storehouse of undigested experiences. And it's more grounding to start there. Because what happens, a lot of people develop this, and energetically, I call them like lollipop heads. These are people that get migraines. These are people that get headaches because they're only focused here. When if you don't clear the lower energy centers, this is always going to be susceptible to trickery, if that makes sense.
What do you
So
make?
then go ahead.
You're saying the next something. I don't want to miss that.
Oh, so that really you would do the lower energy center and then the solar, like the heart. But really the solar plexus, really, if you want to clearly feel, has to be cleared out. You really have got to sit in there. Because that's where you're going to understand judgment and discernment. Now, people vilify judgment, but you need judgment. You need to be able to judge. You need to be able to qualify. Really, it's qualifying. Most people are stuck in quantification when they really need qualification.
You need to qualify whatever is coming. You can't just take it all. It's probably not all coming from God. Maybe some of it is not.
Right. Yes, exactly. So there's that. But go ahead.
I want to ask you, like, if you were to take me from, okay, maybe you're in spirituality and you've been dabbling here around and you feel confused. I honestly think the worst thing that can happen to someone is getting lost in the spiritual realm. When you're in 3D, maybe you can just keep there because 3D is reason and blah, blah. But I feel like when you leave 3D and you get into this spiritual realm, you either get it right or get it right. So I feel like if you get confused, you can really get worse than you were in 3D. I don't know. I just think like it can be worse.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting to think about that, because you think, because one side is like, well, I'm doing the right thing because I'm connecting to these spiritual beings and I'm spiritual and I'm wanting to be loving and all these things, but you haven't done the discernment work, and so you really don't know what you're dealing with. And you haven't done like the energy management work, and you haven't done the job of getting your body in balance and changing the relationship with your body. So, years ago, there would be a lot of preparation. Like think about monks, right? In a monastery, and how they do develop their spiritual gifts, but they take time. Now, but so for me, this is why I want to kind of bring it back. Like, it's why, like, I really like working with people on a healing journey. I don't need them to learn about an archangel or an ascended master or a star being. It's not necessary. I just need them to breathe. I need them to be able to focus. I need them to be willing to meditate. I need them to be willing to be curious about their own state of being. Because I want to ground it all, you see? It's like being open-minded, being curious. Part of it is people, even in this, so people get lost in the spiritual jungle because they don't do this. They don't take the time to find themselves and God and their own relationship with their own energy. They have no map. They don't have the map of their soul, although they think they do because someone told them that this is soul level work. But meanwhile, they're not connecting them to the energy centers that are connected, that are, where it's like the gateway to soul inside yourself.
This is interesting because before I knew all this spirituality and all of
Mhm.
these angels
Yeah.
and channels and mastered what, before
Right,
all of
whatever.
those, I used to have this connection with God, like connection with God, connection with soul. And there's this one church, one church, LA, I think.
Mhm.
And they always had a message for me, like always, even after today. And so I always had
Mhm.
this place, which
Mhm.
when I go there, there's like just messages for my next thing, my next thing, my
Yeah.
next thing. And I'm like, this works, like totally, this works. Like I'm complete, this works. But now I'm learning this and I'm going, oh, so I probably could be getting my own messages if I learned how to do that. Or I need something in the middle, or I don't know something. And I'm like, do I not? Do I need something? Do I not need something? And so I like what you're saying, because what does this look like for you? Because I'm like, God, I want this thing. I want an answer for this thing. I am looking for this. And somehow when I go to that church, there's a sermon with A to Z of this is a sermon for this Sunday, and it's about this. And I go like, wow, okay. And I just take it and run with it. But then I'm
Mhm.
beginning to think, okay, what are the then I began to see, maybe if I devote my senses and connect it to my gifts or whatever, then I could get those answers myself. And you're saying that's the speed, that's the jungle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you're already living your gift, right? Like
Mm.
what you're doing right now is your gift.
Yeah, like translating core messages from like
Yes.
whatever lingo the expert has them into the
Yes.
practical ways they need to appear in the world. So yes, that translation, that's a gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a gift.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't do that. You know,
Yeah.
that's not my gift. That's not my gift for the world.
I want to ask you a question, but before then, I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
like, okay, so if I was already in the jungle, lost, and I wanted the
Mhm.
map, the compass to
Mhm.
find my highest sense, to connect with the God, whoever
Mhm.
God I believe in, and I wanted to kind of recalibrate, I kind of wanted to ask you, after 13
Mhm.
years, what you feel are the important pieces that one needs to be aware about. So you need this piece and this piece and this
Mhm.
piece and this piece, and you should find your path in the jungle, or that's your map. But I
Mhm.
don't know what you feel needs to come before that. Do you feel is a piece you need to go through before that question?
Well, one, you have to, you know, realize that if you tune into yourself, you're not lost.
Mm,
You know, sometimes I feel lost. Like I have a part of the way that I'm designed is I have to be able to see in the dark,
mm,
and I don't always have a map, and I have to find my way, right?
mm,
So that's why I have to go back and tune in to myself, but that's because I have to show other people to do that. So
mm,
and I'll explain. Let me give you a little explanation of what I mean. When my father was dying, he asked me to help him die. I had never done that before, even though I've been an acupuncturist and a massage therapist and doing everything that I've done. And so I had to figure it out because he was dying. Like that was it. So I figured it out. I just had to, do you understand? But if I
mm,
was kind of like, oh my God, like Archangel Michael, I didn't do that. I tuned into myself. I tuned into him because he asked
mm.
me to. I tuned
That
into
must be
God.
that
And
must be
then,
scary.
yes. And then I knew what to do. Like I just followed, I
Intuitive.
followed
Mm,
intuitively, just let it
mm,
it's like it feels natural. It's just a natural unfolding. There's nothing, more that you need to do than that.
mm.
And like,
Intuitive.
so that's why I want to give you that example, that story, because that's what I mean. I get, called in, like I got called into someone's birth. I had never done that before too. And then I just had to
Mm,
do it. Like, so a lot of times what happens is I get called into a situation, I do it and I go back and I learn about it.
mm,
Right. So what happened with my father, the process I used to help him, I found out later on, because I took a course about death and dying, that it came from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. But that's what I mean by channeling the soul. It's not like my soul says, okay, now we're gonna use the Tibetan process for, no, I just did the process.
Mm.
Didn't know what it was, or didn't have to know what it was. So this is not everybody's way of being. Like, my way is not everybody's way. What I'm called to do is not what everybody's called to do. But I'm called to do these things like this so I can, what do they call that? Reverse engineer things for people. I have to be able to do the thing, and then I have to reverse engineer, well, how can I help someone to be able to do this? If that's what they're called to do.
I see what you mean. Like, you do things and then you reverse engineer, or you document that going backwards. But then I'm just wondering, if somebody was in the jungle and they were lost because maybe they didn't have intuition going in, or maybe they don't have discernment, or maybe they still have that I'm not worthy feeling, and they look like,
but
I get a feeling that you come from the 3D world running after something, and if you're not careful, you will still chase the same thing in the spiritual world. Like,
that's
I have
right.
a feeling like, if you're not able to sit in your 3D world and heal and know that you're healed and complete, if you go in the spiritual world and start to heal other people, you may end up getting spiritual materialism or something, because there is parts of you that need work that you didn't do. And so I'm just wondering, like,
what to do, right?
Like, what are the brackets that people need to look into, go like, does that check, do I have that, so they can begin to kind of see the missing pieces, and if they need to find a way to work on those pieces. Because I feel like there's a real chance people are lost.
Yeah, well, that's, so part of it is, it's hard because I have to know where the people are lost for them to have these checkpoints. You see what I mean? Now, one, I would say
I'd written some.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. What did you write?
I wrote, like, intuition. That has to be there. Like, if you don't have intuition, you can't tap into your intuition, then maybe that's the work to do. Then I'd put discernment. Like, if you have issues discerning, doesn't help going deeper, maybe you need to stop and work on that. I'd put on energy management, and I think understanding that bit. Then I'd put, like, body balance. But I came to think that there is things that we can try and say, oh, okay, that. I can find my path in the jungle if I look to,
right. Yeah, so the first I would say is, like, fire any spiritual guides you have. Stop talking to archangels, stop talking to ascended masters, and start getting into, your heart, your heart center, in your body.
Okay.
Simply putting your hand on your heart center, like your hand on your chest, and breathing and being in your body and being grounded in your body.
I feel like we need a disclaimer there. This is according to Jenny's 14 years, 15 years, 25 years of business. Her journey, what she's gone through, and if it doesn't work for you, please.
That's fine. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But I would tell you, like, get rid of all the extra stuff, like, and consolidate, because that's what you need to do. It's like clearing out. It's like when you declutter your home, you got to declutter your relationship with spirit first, because there's too much. It's too much. And a lot of people run to spirituality to avoid the physical, to avoid what they're feeling, they disassociate. It's a way that they call it spiritual bypassing, but it's a form of disassociation, which is why it's like, get back into your body. Put your bare feet on the earth. Breathe. realize that you don't need as much as you think you do, that you have it all within inside yourself. So it's like reorientation. I call it reorienting to the self, to the truth, to the true self, and to God. And like part of that is a lot of nervous system, a lot of nervous system balancing too. Yeah, yeah. So that's it. Just take a moment, breathe, right? Breathe, relax. And relaxation is a big deal because if you're not relaxed, if you can't relax and you can't get your nervous system to relax and balance, it's going to be hard to find your way out. Find your way. It's not even your way out, it's your way in. You got to find your way in.
It's like you're lost in the forest. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get out, we'll probably have to remember how did we get there. Like, unless you can stop panicking and go, all right, I'm lost. Could be eaten by a lion right now. So what do I do? Where did I even come from? How did I enter this place?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah.
Do I hear anything? Do I hear water? Do I hear, it's like if you close your eyes and really tune in, like without trying to figure out, like trying to hear or see, like people in a lot of what I see in the spiritual teachings are like, oh, I want to see this. So they just see it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with imagination. And like I said, I'm not trying to vilify what people do. But to me, any spiritual being is a mirror. It's like an attribute. You're looking for an attribute within yourself, and they represent that attribute, but you have that attribute within you.
Okay. So is this our step one or is it everything? Stop, drop everything, send.
Stop, drop, and roll. Yeah.
Is that everything or is it like, okay, this is where it starts from? Once you have
this is where you start. This is where you start.
And then once you have that, then hopefully you find your way.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things that people can do, which will help to reorient them, is to walk barefoot on the ground that's not pesticide treated. Like, so get away. Don't if you spray your lawn, don't walk on that. Like, go somewhere, go hiking. Make sure you're not going to hurt your feet. Like, make sure there's not glass or whatever. Go start simple, but go out in nature and walk. We have the hands and feet are very sensitive and have a lot of sensors. And just breathe, and be where you are in nature, be present. That's such a simple thing to do. Nobody does it. It's like, not nobody, but a lot of people don't do it, don't take the time to do it. But it'll reset your rhythm, your body rhythm, your relationship with nature, your relationship with your body.
So after that, then what should they do, or where should they look? Because now they don't want to go to the same things that have them confused. So after now they're disconnected, I don't know, getting back in sync, and given up with whoever they were holding on.
Yeah.
Then where else? Like, what's next step and what is the final, whatever?
Well, I need to do meditation and central pillar work for soul connection. So the next step will be purifying the central pillar. So you purify primarily. I'm giving you all the secrets. Like, this is what I do in session. So you purify the central pillar, and you purify the third eye center, the heart center, and the lower abdomen center, which is the center of will.
You could give me the secrets, but I would never do this. I
have
no idea how to do that.
Yeah. Well, so that you would have to just sit and with your awareness in these centers and let them purify. And that if something keeps coming, the same sense, you have the same sense. then you sit with that one and try to dissolve it, go into the center of it.
Let me see if I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You have everything you need in you. You were born with it. God created you with everything. All the tools
Yes.
you have.
Yeah.
So stop looking outside for the tools, for the guidance. You have the tools within you. Now, sit with that and let it sink in. Whatever you have to do to center yourself, sit with that and let it sink in. And then you have different things you're activating. I don't know, center. That center bit is like some work to do. And if there's any unresolved matters, they come up and insist. And so you dissolve them as they come up. You don't go look for problems. You let the problems show up and then you dissolve them. And then you keep on that path to really develop this relationship with you and your inner soul. The point where the discernment is clear, where the intuition is clear, where the senses that we're after are coming clearly for us, to a point where we have this intangible guidance that we always know we have, but maybe now it's amplified because we've managed to silence everything on the outside. And so now we can see it and discern and know what to do because we are so in sync with the soul that there is nothing distracting us. And the less things we can do, the more we can, the better we can do it. This is how I'm thinking about, because like when I teach 3 things in business. I say, first of all, it's you, the person. If you're a mess, forget it. So whatever it is you need, let's fix that. If that's healing, if that's health, and I am not your master. So there is people who don't need business strategy, and you need to go and fix that. You need to go get a place where you believe you can do it. You're going to do it. You're not pointing fingers. You're not out of regulation. You can actually handle failure. Once you're there, now we need to be clear, like, what's the message? Who won't pass? Like, what is this message in the practical world for people who are not your experts? So we get that message clear. And now we do like conversations, which is how we accelerate trust with human beings. And then we do demonstration. You're saying you're a healer. Okay, give them one session, let them see something. And then if they want more sessions, then they can pay. But don't go there and talk about the healing, and they won't understand it. Give them a taste of it. And so for me, I go like, if you're at a place where you actually are embracing all of the gifts you have, and now you have a clear message, and now you're having conversations with real people who need your help, and you can show them what you can do, everything is noise. Those are the things that you need to do, and most people are not doing them. And what they're doing, write another post, create another campaign, do another thing. I'm like, stop doing more things and start doing the things that actually move the needle. And that's how that's how I'm getting it from you. Like, there's so much noise, and the more things you do, the more diluted your focus or attention becomes. So focus on creating this relationship with your center and find a way to get to your soul with as less distraction as possible.
Make it
is already inside of you, and the path you want is the path to lead you to your own self with the God, whoever you believe in, and you do not need so many things on the outside. There is you that was created, there is you here, and probably some things are in the middle that need to be dissolved. But our path is really to just move from where we are to our highest self by dissolving whatever substances are in there, and everything in the side needs to be eliminated.
It's anything. So exactly. So we're saying the same thing, you understand? We're saying the same thing. So like messaging, clear messaging comes from a balanced nervous system. Your message, because that's your messaging, your nervous system is messaging all the time. So you might be saying one thing, like, so, but your nervous system is messaging another thing. And that's one of the things I want to say. So I do permission-based work. I do not read someone's energy or like, send them any energy or do anything with anyone unless they give me permission, verbally or written.
Mm.
Because
Take us. No, no. Go ahead. I want to hear it.
because a lot of healers do that, and it's actually detrimental to the healer because you're in a energy of non-consent. It's like basically this is the mindset. It's a very imbalanced male mindset of trying to accumulate more territory. I can read you, you're my territory. No, I'm not. Right? So I have a lot of respect for people, for their energy, for their presence, and I will not do anything, or I don't sit here and read people without their permission, without asking them permission.
I tell you, I sat with a healer once, and she was explaining to me, I don't know, whatever. She wanted to do a session with me, and I'm like, okay, can you explain to me how that works? Like, why would you do that? And how does it work? And why is it necessary? And she was like, no, that's not your part to know. And I'm like, really?
No,
Okay.
no, that's another, that's another, that's that kind of, that's like I don't, that to me is a no. Like, so that's why I don't heal people. I facilitate, right? So if, that's it. Like if I'm doing body work on you, I'm just facilitating healing just by those movements. If I'm doing acupuncture, right? But if I'm working with you at a distance, I'll have you massage your own acupuncture point. I'll have you breathe through your own acupuncture point. I'll have you meditate on an acupuncture point.
I don't know. I thought it was it really taught me that, okay, you need to slow down, and there's probably a lot of people who are very lost in this world.
Yes, well,
Because
that's what, yeah. That's why they're lost. Yeah.
What she was saying is, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and you don't need to know what I'm doing and why I'm doing this. Your work is to do A, B, C. And I'm like, huh? Really? I don't think so. But this makes a lot of sense. What is it that we needed to speak about that you feel like we haven't touched? And I know that you have a heart for healers. So what is it that you want healers to know that I haven't been able to ask? Because I'm not a healer, so I don't really know what's in the space. I don't know their struggles. What is it that you want them to know? I know that your message is primarily for healers, but I think I just took you on another tangent of
that's okay.
People who need healing.
Right. So that's, for me, it's about being here for healing, right, itself. And I would say that healers need to focus on being in service. It's not something we've touched upon, but to have a devotion to that service and to remove their validating themselves as a facilitator from the process. So what happens is when you have a doubt in yourself, you can kind of look at every person that you work with and say, oh my God, did I do okay? Was I okay? Was that good? Did that help them? Did it not help? And have that kind of anxiety. When really it's about, if you focus and stay devoted to your mission as a facilitator of healing, and then it takes you out of like, oh, I don't have to, it takes you out of the doubt. It takes you out of the anxiety.
I love that you're saying that, because there's one preacher that I love listening to, Sarah Budgets, and before she begins any sermon, she says, please come and take away all of my fear, all my anxiety, all of anything that will get in the way of me getting your message and sharing it. Please take it away. Take my humanness out of the equation and let me do your work. So I love that you're saying that, but to the point where we started, which is you can be a healer, a facilitator that loses themselves in the process and doesn't take care of themselves. What is the message for you in that regard of they are still human and they still need they still need to prioritize themselves, and they still need to have compassion and everything, so they can do the work they're supposed to do, but they don't have to do that at the expense of their own soul. What would you like to say to that?
Well, that most of them, like I'm talking to the people that really need to commit to meditation, commit to tuning into themselves, to commit to getting, doing what they need for their own body to keep it, to maintain health. And that it's just to remind them of how that's going to help them be an even more impactful facilitator, and a more effective, a more potent. Because the clients or the patients are, they're finding healing also in the relationship. Like, so if you have a sense of balance within yourself, and remember that your body can heal, even if you're having a little bit of an off day, even if something's happening, right, where you don't feel 100%, your body still remembers. And then the person who you're working with, they go into resonance with that remembrance, what you're holding, like the tone that you are holding at the frequency.
So good. So I have a client, every time we sit, she just has questions, and she loves how I see them. She may go, they're not buying. I go, okay. What I see is that they don't like the message, they don't like the offer, so that they hate you. They just don't want the offer. So like, what's the offer that they want? She may go, I'm having freebie seekers. And they go, really? Okay. So when is the last time you really invested? Like, what has been your investment? Because most clients who come to me and say people are not paying, I can trace back to how they paid me, and it was like I had to pull hair off them. And so someone may be in front of me saying, I want you to help me. I want to close more people in the Zoom room. And I go, okay, cool. So what's the problem right now? And they tell me, I don't know what to say. But I'm like, all right. And then at the end of it all, I go, okay, I do think that this person needs ABC. Okay, so I give them an offer. I'm like, okay, this is the offer. Let's get started. And then off of that, I can see exactly why no one is paying them. Because they'll do the same thing that they told me was their problem. And so sometimes I go, okay, maybe this person needs help, or maybe it's one of those. And I would say like, oh, this is the offer. Let me know if there's any issues with anything, pricing, frequency, we can work it out. Like, let me know how this sounds. And they will do the same exact thing that they told me was their problem. And sometimes I mail them and say, you don't really need me. What you need is to solve that. Like, the problem you have is you have objections, and you don't say the objections, you disappear. And so people have the same objections, and they don't think you're a safe place. And so they don't tell you, they disappear. The reason you're not able to get people who can pay the right price is because you struggle to see value. You struggle to see why you should pay a high ticket for things. And so if you're not able to invest $10,000 in yourself, you won't be able to collect it.
Exactly.
And so I like what you're saying, that sometimes the person you're helping uses your faith and groundedness to do the thing they want to do.
Yeah.
I have had people. I want to hear
if you're on a healing journey, or if you're a healing facilitator, you have to be the tone or the frequency that knows that it has complete faith in healing itself. So that's why I help both of these type of clients.
That is so good. It is so good, because I have personally heard from people that were talking to masculinity in women. But when I looked at them, I was like, I don't know. But when I look at you, I see masculinity. So I don't really understand. I have had people
Mhm.
who are trying to say they can help, but I felt like I had a deeper level of intuition than they did. And I was like, this doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. There's people
Right.
who
So you're
try to say they did something, and I was like, like there is something that is, it's like there's people who don't take their own advice, if I can say that.
yeah. Oh yeah. So, yes. So that, for me, the tone in the home is modeled after the mother. The
Mm,
mother sets the tone in the home, right? The father
mm,
provides, the father, is the protector and the provider, and the mother sets the tone in the home and lets the child know that they matter,
mm,
right? And that they're cared for. And so for me, I took that understanding, I was and did it in my healing practice and as a facilitator. And so what would
mm,
happen is people would ultimately just think of me and they'd feel better because I remember that tone or that frequency. That's what it is.
mm,
People would start feeling better when they were walking into the building where my office is, and they'd say it every time. Um, and I still have clients. I have clients from that have been with me for 24 years.
wow.
So these people now are distance clients because I've moved from New
Mm,
Jersey to Hawaii.
mm,
But I tell them all the time, if you're struggling and can't get a hold of me, just remember a healing session. Just remember a session you had with me, and your body will remember, and you'll remember that you can heal.
mm.
Which could, that could work against me because then they won't book a session. They'll just remember a prior session. But it's the truth, right? And that's my
Mm.
devotion to them, right? So that they can heal.
That's so good. I've always wondered why people flooded Tony Robbins events, but now that I play back, people really feel better when they are in the presence of Tony Robbins. And so he
Yes.
really like embodies what he teaches. He really is
Yes.
energy. He is the
Yes.
present. And so
Yes.
people just want to be in that energy, in that frequency. And if we
Mm-hmm.
can all learn to do that for ourselves, I think it would be very helpful for everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Like
That's yeah.
mm,
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, like I really see what you're saying. It's more like the more you feed into yourself, the more you can facilitate. And I think that trying to be a facilitator, a healer, or something like that means you've decided that you're gonna do the work. You're gonna do, I don't know, twice the work that, because you could have just been by yourself and you could have just regulated yourself and just did normal things. But now, if you've decided that you're going to be taking on people's karmas and helping them through stuff, then honestly, you're not the person to be dysregulated at that point. Like,
I won't take on. People have to take on their own karma. People have to do their own
mm,
work.
mm,
I I can't do that for them. Then they don't grow. I take their thing that they need to grow through away from them.
mm,
And I really only think I'm doing it because it's still there. They still have to do it's like putting a band-aid on, right? They
mm,
still have to deal with the thing, whatever it is. So I can't take something away for someone. They have to do the work.
I
That's
like that.
that's yeah.
It's like empowerment, more like you empower them to kind of
Yes.
fend for
And
themselves.
right. And that's the mother's role too. That's the
Mm.
mother's role. We're all
It's more
dealing with yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
it's more like you're on the plane and there's a problem. Really, the best way to take care of your kids is to have a mask on and make sure you're alive. Otherwise,
Mhm.
they'll be flying through the window while you're dead. If
Yeah,
they're the
yeah.
first human beings you're taking care of before your own mask, chances are you'll be dead and they'll be in the window anyway. hopefully
Yes.
to anyone and everybody. So
Yeah.
I think the best way to really take care of the kids while you're on the plane is to first safeguard yourself, and then, so it's the same principle that I think we're sharing here.
Yes.
Wow.
Self-preservation. We've lost the art of self-preservation.
Self-preservation. If there was someone listening going, I missed it, so I don't have much time to go back and re-listen to the whole thing, what do you want them to remember from the 1.5 hours? And I didn't even see the time. We've been going for 1.5
Yeah.
or something. What do you want them to remember going back, like all the way from where we began from?
I want them to remember that they know how to heal. I want them to remember. I also want them to remember that healing takes many forms and may not look the way they think it's supposed to. If healing doesn't mean going back to what was, it means growing into something. It means growing through. So you will be changed, you'll be transformed, and hopefully transformed into your more true essence. That's what healing is about. You can't stay where you are and heal.
I think if I was to wrap up what we said, I would say for people like me who are on their journey of this spirituality or connecting with their higher self, it's very easy to get lost in the jungle.
Yes.
But before that happens, remember that you have everything within you already.
Yes.
That whatever you're looking for is not in an external thing. Like whatever you're looking for is already within you. And so the work needs to be focusing on eliminating anything in the way of you accessing whatever you already have in abundance that is within you. So don't get sidetracked by so many things that you forget the simplicity of being connected and being centered, of being able to discern, of being able to have intuition, because it's all that thing has changed. It's just that there's different ways to look at things, different interpretations, and people are discovering this and that and that, and it's really becoming like shiny objects at this point.
Yes.
And for the healers who I am not healers, what I pick is the most sincere gift you can give to the people you're called to serve is to do the work on yourself constantly, so that you are in the best form or shape that you can, because a lot of people rely on you for their spiritual journey. And so the best thing you can do for them is try and not be lost in the jungle, because you possibly can't take people to a place where you're lost. Like if you're lost in the jungle, how are you supposed to help another person?
Yeah, how are you supposed to help them find their way to themselves if you're
and so
lost?
I think really the most sincere way that you can look at this is, if I'm lost, how can I help another person? And maybe pause and do the work on yourself until you're clear, like really clear that there's no confusion for you. Then, and I know that anyone behind you you can help, but sometimes I feel like this spiritual stuff, it's like brain surgery. Like you don't just wake up and get a brain surgeon who's just being an intern because they deserve a chance. Like, no. When you're going to do brain surgery, you want to make sure that, the right person is going to do the work. And so if you're starting out as well, just like me, I don't know, just use your 3D knowledge, instinct, everything, logic, to choose someone who makes sense to you, at least for how they show up in the world and for what you pick up when you're in the room with them. That's my kind of last way of saying it. I want you to tell us more about your work and what containers you have in the back that people can begin to see themselves in. How do you support people right now?
I have one-on-one support, and that's both for facilitators and for people on a healing journey. And usually I tailor it to what they want. I would say it's a minimum of 3 months. But if they want to go longer, I can make packages for longer. And I'm launching a new group membership for healing facilitators for support. So they have support so they can really get into themselves in a in a deeper way, a more transformative way. So they can become, the power of transformation itself. They can become empowerment itself. So they embody all of these things so they can really be a channel for their soul.
So group
Mm-hmm.
for the facilitators and one-on-one for both
Mm-hmm.
the people who want to heal and the people who want to become like facilitators.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you do to support people?
I I also have a few. I started a series of courses about essence, like your true essence, and I'm working more with planetary consciousness, because when you think of planets, they're just planes of consciousness. That's why they're called a planet. So I have Mars, grow your warrior essence, which we need to be able to stand up for ourselves, to be able to commit to our soul and to commit to self-care and drown out all the other programming, really. And then I have Jupiter, grow your spiritual essence, which talks about how your spirit, the difference between the metaphysical senses, right, and the spiritual gift.
That's quite a number of ways.
Yeah.
What I would like to suggest is we will drop a link in the comment section, and what you want to do is you want to be sure that you check that out and see the different ways that you can work with Jennifer. But I think booking a call is going to be the easiest thing to do. Just
Yes,
book a
booking your
call
call.
and
Yeah.
have a chat with Jenny and kind of see like where is going to be the best way to start. Especially one, if you're lost in the jungle, two, if you want to be the best facilitator for the people that your soul is called to help.
Yeah, because lost in the jungle could be lost on a healing journey. Like you're just trying to you need support. Sometimes you just need support to heal. Like even if you're doing, I don't care if you're doing all the Western medicine things. Sometimes you just need that kind of support to tune into yourself during the process. Like I've helped people with cancer. I've helped people with lots of like really serious things. They need a little energetic support. They need to learn how to support themselves, really what it is, through presence and energy and soul.
It reminds me of a friend of mine who's had transplant, and this process has been very helpful for her in kind of helping herself cope and cooperate with the medicine and really bounce back, because her body was shutting down before, and now she's really like really good. And the doctors can't explain like why the jump in progress, because she was like almost written off, and now she's like back to it, and they're like, wow, it's nothing we've seen. We can't explain what has happened. And they're like, what is it that you've started doing? And she's like, I think, because she doesn't want to, she's from Kenya, and so she doesn't want to start explaining this, because this can be very scary for most people. So, as always, the best thing you can do for this channel, for myself, for Jenny's work is pause and go, who is a human being that gets the gifts of Jenny today? Like, who would you love for Jenny to meet today? Whose life would be unrecognizable if they met Jenny? Whose life would be changed, impacted, turned around by Jenny? Is it someone living with a chronic illness, or is it someone that is lost in the spiritual jungle? I like to call it like spiritual confusion. Is it somebody that is really confused and they don't know anymore because they've been channeling this person and this person and this person, and you feel like the next thing they'll be channeling, who knows, Like, who do you know that needs Jenny? Who do you know that needs to simplify spirituality? Who do you know that needs this simple way of looking at things? I don't know about you, but it was really good for me. Like, I loved the way she looks at it. So I'd love for you to pause and really share this with them in their private space so they can listen to the interview. You are really just one share away from changing someone's life. And this podcast wouldn't exist if there wasn't a cry for Jenny's message. And so what I'd love for you to do is really look in your phone, in your spaces, and share this with just one person who hopefully shares it with another person. And that's how the message goes to everyone whose soul needs to be touched by this message. And so it would be an honor if you just did that for us. Jenny, we're winding up, and we're longing for your last words of wisdom for us.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you to you and anyone who's listening to this and anyone who shares this. So that means a lot to me. And it means a lot to me that, Prima, that you have brought me on here. And I'm very honored. And I would say, really, what we need, right, is more presence, more time with ourselves, more time in nature, and just breathe. If I can give you one simple tool, literally, it's just breathe. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be more complicated than that.
No,
if you love simplification, yeah, you get it. If you've been scared of the woo, now you have this. If you've been thinking, oh my God, I want to learn all this, but it seems so complicated. No, it's not. Now you have journey. I believe the journey is for people like me who really just want to keep things simple. And they just want to focus on a few things and do them well. And if that's you and you don't want to be all over and you don't want to know everything and all of the things, this is your way, your journey to spirituality. I want to appreciate you for keeping up with us. I want to appreciate you for showing up, for listening to the end. These podcasts are not the shortest by all means, but people listen to them. When I go in the back end, people listen to them to the end. And so I am convinced that these messages are being listened to people who need them because their soul is really crying for them. So thank you. I will see you very soon. I hope this was helpful. Please, if you're on your app, I want you to grab the app and think like, what is it asking you to do? Is it saying follow? Is it saying subscribe? Is it saying rate? Is it saying review? Is it saying comment? Whatever the thing it is that it's asking you, allowing you to do, know that that's the most way you can support the channel. And that's the most way you can bring people on other frequencies who need this message to come to the channel. Or people even on the same frequency who just need to come to a place like this, which has a lot of answers for the questions on their hearts. I'm trusting that together we'll do this, one soul at a time. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful day. And Jenny, thank you so much for being our guest today. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much, Prima.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, everyone.
That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.